Colorado head coach Deion Sanders needs to wake up, if anything. They just got embarrassed again.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs, everybody. I'm Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsors over at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We're also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you're not missing out on any of the coverage because there's a lot to talk about. I imagine there should be a lot of changes coming. If not, oh boy, right? Let's just talk about it. Wow is what I have to say. I think Colorado has officially quit on the season. They were down 17-0 in the first quarter for the second straight week, and they ended up losing 52-17. Anything that could go wrong did go wrong. Noah Fifita had 4 touchdowns in the first half, 4 passing touchdowns it is. Colorado was undisciplined, 14 penalties for 110 yards. It was everything. It was just nonstop penalty after penalty. It was roughing the passer that negated an interception. It was lining up wrong. You throw out Jordan Cena at wide receiver, he lines up wrong. Marion Miller lined up wrong once or twice. There was holding, there was this, there was that. There was so many discipline issues, right? And this has been a common thing for Colorado. There's been substitution issues. They had to waste a timeout. And I don't think they fully comprehend that, like, hey, if you sub someone off with 10 seconds remaining, guess what? The defense is going to do the same thing and burn the clock. That has been a common problem for Deion Sanders in Colorado, and they still aren't getting it. But what else went wrong? Quarterback play. I think this is officially the end of the Caden Salter era in Boulder. It's unfortunate. It's not really something to be celebrated. He is a guy that had a lot of bright moments at Liberty, but unfortunately, the marriage didn't work out. I don't think he fit into Colorado's system, and I don't think offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur did a good enough job or even attempted to fit the offense around his skill set. He's one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the country, yet you're sort of making him run an offense for Shedeur Sanders, and like he's not Shedeur Sanders, right? Shedeur Sanders was statistically the most accurate quarterback in college football history, and instead you have a dual threat guy who should really open up the run game and like should make your offense and everything more dynamic, and it's like instead, you're just like letting him be exposed every week. Defensively, I mean, where to begin? Colorado, I mean, you give up 213 yards passing, 204 yards rushing. Colorado has given up 200 or more yards nearly every game this season, and it's embarrassing. It really is. Third down wise, I mean, not bad for Colorado. They were 7 of 18. Arizona was 5 of 13, though. It just wasn't anything to write home about, right? They missed on opportunities. Offense wasn't in position to make plays. The offense wasn't really prepared for anything. I think injuries have played a factor a little bit, but in reality, when you come out as flat as you did after getting your butt absolutely handed to you the week prior, it shows me that you've quit, right? There was little to no fight from this Colorado team. It's very disappointing to see some of the guys who are expected to be key players, some of the guys who are expected to be stars and like first round picks. It's like you just watch them play and it looks like they're like, whatever, right? I don't see the fight. I don't see the passion. Colorado has 3 more games, and technically a bowl game is still possible. They could win out, but I don't think that's going to happen. I firmly don't. I don't even know if Colorado's going to win another game this season, right? West Virginia is looking a lot better than Scotty Fox. It's Scotty Fox season, right? Colorado is looking terrible. This is as bad as Colorado has looked under Deion Sanders. And I think this team would probably lose to the 2023 team. That's how bad they are, right? And the 2023 team, I don't think they were even that bad. It's just they were exposed physically down the stretch. I think that 2023 team would blast this team, right? We are getting into the 2022 territory, right? Colorado gave up 50 points in back-to-back games for the first time since 2022. That season, they went 1-11, right? This Colorado team is absolutely just shot. There's nothing really positive to say about the performance other than Julian Lewis, which I'll get to later. But, I mean, just anything that could go wrong did go wrong, right? I just feel like there's so many instances of, like, it's a lack of discipline. It's coaches not putting players in the right position. It's players really not having any self-awareness. It's just constant. And I think there's a lot of things that need to be changed. I think there's a lot of things that won't be able to be changed until the offseason. But I mean, there's a couple sequences that really stood out to me. So 75-yard touchdown pass from Caden Salter, called back for an ineligible man down the field. Omarion Miller was lined up wrong. He was covering a wide receiver on the line of scrimmage. So he wasn't supposed to be running down the field based on the way he was lined up, which means he should have checked in with the official, or the official didn't say anything to him because they're not obligated to. But either way, Caden Salter finds Sincere Brown for a 75-yard touchdown. It gets called back for an ineligible man down the field. So that already sucks, but it's like, okay, like whatever. I mean, you'll take your 10, 15-yard penalty and then you move on, 5-yard penalty, whatever it is. But then you have Yaya over here called for simulating the brandishing of a weapon, which is essentially he was flashing a finger gun at someone or pretending to shoot. So I don't know. I didn't see it, and they didn't show the replay. But it's like, okay, that turned into a play where Colorado was at like its own. It went from being at their own 30. Well, granted, they went from scoring a touchdown to being at their own like 5-yard line. So that was terrible. Then the very next drive for Arizona, no Fafita fumbles. And honestly, the ball hasn't been bouncing Colorado's way this year, it seems. Nobody recovers. 3 buffs a whiff on it. A couple guys, they try to go with the scoop and score. And honestly, I think that's one of my biggest frustrations is have situational awareness, right? If it's near a pile, dive on it. If you're out in open space and it's one-on-one and whatever, that's when you scoop and score. When it's congested and all 22 people are within 3 yards of each other, why? Just dive on the ball. But anyway, they whiff on it. Ivan Yates then picks off Noah Fafita, and it's like, yes, Ivan Yates, you've been balling. Like, do your thing. But then, of course, it gets called back because Arden Walker basically tackled Noah Fafita on the sideline and got called for roughing the passer. Neither quarterback looked good between Caden Salter and Ryan Staub. It was dreadful for both of them. Caden Salter competed, I think he was 11 of 14, I want to say. 11 of 15 for 49 yards, a touchdown, and an interception, and then he lost a fumble. Ryan Staub threw 2 passes, and they were both picked off. So that was terrible. Dallin Hayden got 9 carries, and you could say, like, oh, Colorado, why are you focused on running the ball? Colorado was having a little bit of success running the ball with Dallin Hayden specifically, and then they benched him. So that was fun. It's like, oh, this guy has the hot hand. Yank, get off the field, dude. Like, we don't want you to succeed, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what the problem is there. Receiving-wise, I mean, they finally realized Zach Atkins was alive. Like, hey, Zach, like tight end, the big dude that was on one point the number 1 tight end in the portal. Yeah, he's pretty good. Get him the ball. But it was like, no, it's too late. Doesn't matter, right? Everything that could go wrong for this Colorado team, discipline, tackling. I mean, the first play that Arizona scored on, I think Colorado missed 5 tackles. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. This team is in a weird, terrible spot right now because on one hand, it's like, how are you going to improve moving forward? Like, can you improve? Does the team even care? Like, a lot of these guys, I think Colorado leads the country in senior players, right? So a lot of these guys, this is it for them. They are probably checked out. They're like, you know what? I'm getting an internship here, getting a job here. I could not care less, right? Not everyone's playing for pride. Another thing that really I couldn't believe, I don't know like what he's saying, but when he was asked after the game how he would explain this, the last couple of games, this and the Utah loss to recruits, he said, if you're a dog, you want to come here and right the wrong. If you're a cat, you look at the scoreboard and run. Which one are you? Like, I don't think that's fair at all. Like, I think you have to really be like, I'm going to make changes, right? Deion Sanders has yet to publicly say that he's going to make changes. He is the closest thing he said to I'm going to make changes is I know what the situation is. I know what the problem is, and I'll fix it. Like, I think we're about 4 to 5 weeks too late on that, right? And I'm going to get to that right now, but I just don't feel like Deion Sanders understands the magnitude of this. Like, I feel like everything he's worked for, everything he's built, which people can make fun of all you want. 2023, that team quadrupled their win total from 2022. That was a good, solid season. Last year was a really good season. Like, Colorado has not been historically Ohio State, USC, Texas, right? They have been a team that for the past 2 decades have struggled a lot. So to go from 1 win to 4 wins to 9 wins was really good. So to take a big step back in year 3, not so good, right? And if you're Deion Sanders, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, hey, I could fix this, but it's going to take some work. And is he willing to put in that work? I don't know. We're going to find out how dedicated he is to coaching. I know a lot of people are constantly calling for him to retire or come up with this BS reason for him to leave. I don't think he will. I think he has pride, but I do think he's going to have to like admit that he's wrong. And I don't feel like he does that often. So we'll have to wait and see. One of the things he needs to admit he's wrong on, two of the things actually, or I guess one, we'll go one, his coaching staff. It's a disaster. He needs to clean house. And I'll talk about that, but first a quick break. This episode of Locked on Buffs, it's brought to you by our sponsors over at Gametime. Now, if you're not familiar with Gametime, you should get familiar because it's the best place to get tickets for literally anything, really. Sports, comedy, theater, whatever it is, Gametime is the place to be. College football is here, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, and the energy in the stands. There's nothing like it. I mean, even when Colorado's down big, they got a group of guys just waving their shirts around, just dudes being bros, you know? But let's be real. Getting those tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself, especially when the game looks like today's. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices, jumping at checkout. And that's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pull up Gametime, and just in a couple tabs, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football game for as low as $25. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. That's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download Gametime today. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Make changes. It's the hardest thing to do when you have a wrong is to admit that you're wrong, right? And I think for Deion Sanders, he really needs to admit that this whole like, yeah, we're going to be NFL experience. Like we're going to have this dude who's in the league for 12 years, this guy who was in the league as a coach for 15 years. Like it's not working, right? You did not surround yourself with the right people to set you up to succeed. Last year looks like more of an anomaly because you had such high talent level. And realistically, Deion Sanders has succeeded he succeeded at Jackson State because his teams were so it didn't really matter who his coaches were, right? Like he had a couple experienced ones here and there, like Mike Norvell. But I mean, this year, like Pat Shurmur, he hadn't coached college football since 1998. Like that, I was born in 99. Like that was 27 years ago. Like he had I mean, it's like if you brought your grandma to, like my great grandma, when basketball was a thing back then, they were playing with wood baskets. Like that is the equivalent. And me being like, hey, this is basketball now. Like this guy, LeBron, he's 6'9", 260 pounds, could dunk and shoot threes. Meanwhile, they're like, what? Like we just had to worry about getting the basket out of the ball out of the basket, the peach basket. Like that's what it feels like to bring Pat Shurmur in. Robert Livingston, I was really high on the hire after last year because I think he did what he could. Like he did amazing with that group. That being said, they didn't have the right players around or for him to win in this system. And I think I don't know like if there's adjustments that could be made by him, but I think like he had a talented roster. Like you brought in BJ Green, who's already an all Big 12 player. You have Travis Hunter, who was top 2 pick, right? You had Shiloh Sanders, who, although he's not an NFL talent, he was a good player. Cameron Simon-Craig, same thing, right? You had so many guys that were talented, but you just look at this list, and it's Robert Livingston, pretty much, zero coordinating experience before, had never coached in college football. Pat Shurmur hadn't coached in college since 1998, and I think the offense has regressed, beyond dramatically. Kevin Mathis, corners coach. The corners, they look terrible. They look awful. He'd never coached anywhere besides with Coach Prime, right? So it's like you didn't. Marshall Faulk, the running backs have been solid, but again, guy who's never coached before. Andre Hart had never coached before until coaching with Coach Prime at Trinity and Jackson State, right? Damano Pecco, never coached before. Dude was fresh out of the NFL, right? You have so many guys around you, and I understand the motive of being like, we're going to be the next NFL thing. Like that doesn't work. Like this is not the NFL. Stop treating it as such, right? Treating it as the NFL is what has led you to these problems. It's what has led to players showing up late on the bye week because it's like you think they're adults, but at the end of the day, they're 20-something-year-olds, and some of them are even younger. Like they are not adults as old as they are, right? Except for Julian Lewis. I think he's 17. So he's legally not even an adult yet, I don't think. Could be. I think he's 18. I don't know. But Either way, most of these guys are 18 to 23-ish, right? That is not really an adult, especially if they're playing college football. They have never experienced a real world anything. So treating them as pros when they are not pros and not ready to be pros isn't working, right? You need to put together a staff that has an offensive coordinator like a Jerry Neuheisel, whatever, or a Garrett Riley, or I don't know who it's going to be, right? I do think he needs to change a lot of this staff. But, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like you have to be able to admit you're wrong and put together a staff that understands college football, right? You need to recruit better. I was talking to some people, and they're like, could Deion Sanders in Colorado recruit better? I'm like, yeah, they could. But they are so proud and like excited to go after the portal. I think the portal is going to be hit or miss every year, right? There's going to be years where the portal works like last year. And it's like, great. You brought in so much talent and it clicked. And then there's going to be years like this year where maybe you miss out on a lot of your top targets on defense, right? So you settle for whoever you have, right? Maybe you miss out on corner talent, right? And then your team struggles, right? But if you build through the high school recruiting ranks and develop, you have guys like Jordan Seaton, for instance. Jordan Seaton is a bona fide first-round pick. I mean, I assume he'll stay. And honestly, people could say he should transfer because he's not going to be a first-round pick. He's going to be a first-round pick regardless of where he goes or not. So this is literally like he is a testament to like the importance of recruiting. Like it's this weird like thing where like Deion Sanders will recruit a handful of people like Jordan Seaton, Alexander McPherson, London Merritt, who else? I'm trying to think. Just guys where it's like, okay, they shine. Michael Welch had a really good year last year, right? They're shining as freshmen, and you are finding ways to include them. Imagine how much, one, they're going to improve being in your system for multiple years, but imagine how strong that culture is, right? When Deion Sanders had Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter last year, they were the tone setters. They were the guys that built the culture because they were the two best players. They played three of the most important positions, and everyone wanted to follow them, right? Who's Colorado following this year, right? You didn't have a lot of holdover from last year. You brought in a quarterback in Caden Salter who, but from everything I was told, off the field was not holding up to his end of the bargain early in the season. Leadership-wise, he admitted that it was hard for him to be a leader because he was benched, right? And then we're week 8, week 9 into the season, and we got a fifth-year senior quarterback talking about how hard it is to be a leader. Like, that should not be happening. Like, this program should have a clear identity. I don't know what the identity should be because I don't think they know what the identity should be, but they are not establishing anything. So every year it's like you're starting with a blank slate. Like you're not giving yourself any slack. You're not working to your own strengths. And I think we're seeing that. And it's really disappointing for Colorado to be in this position because last year it looks like if they were able to sustain this success, they'd be a frequent contender in the Big 12, right? Deion Sanders himself said this roster was better than last year's. Last year's roster went 9-4. So I was like, okay, this roster should be able to be better. It's more complete, right? No, because they're not being put into position to succeed. And honestly, it's one of those things where Deion Sanders, look in the mirror and either come to the conclusion that things need to be changed, or you're just going to have to accept that you're not going to be a consistent success year in and year out. Now, a couple questions I'm getting in the comment section. What is his buyout? Let me be real, guys. Deion Sanders is not getting fired, right? He is the 14th. I mean, probably a little lower because guys have been getting extensions, but 14th highest paid coach in college football. He's making $8.9 million this year, and his buyout is $33.6 million. Right? Colorado is not spending $34 million to fire him, and there's no reason to fire him. Right? I think you could be upset with how things have gone, but I think you could also admit, like, hey, this program was in the dumps when he took over. This program needs to give him a shot to figure it out. Whether or not he's going to make the efforts to figure it out, I don't know. We'll find out together as a class, but it'll be interesting. But if I were Deion Sanders, the changes I would make, right off the bat, I'd fire Pat Shurmur. I would go to Brett Bartolone as the play caller for the rest of the year. In the offseason, I would get a new corners coach. I would consider getting a new defense coordinator, which is going to suck because you gave Robert Livingston a very large extension. I think the largest or one of the largest in school histories for a coordinator. And I would get a new linebackers coach or maybe move someone around. I'd probably consider a new defensive tackles coach, right? Or defensive line coach, because you're getting gashed for 200 plus yards rushing per game. It's obviously not working. I think you could probably consider getting a new wide receivers coach, but I would clean house. He handpicks this staff, and the flaws are clear. He keeps saying that he said countless times that this roster is better than last year, and we're not seeing it. So that comes down to coaching, that comes down to development, and that comes down to putting the guys in the right position. And clearly that's not happening. So Coach Prime needs to make changes. You guys comment below. What changes would you make if you were Deion Sanders? We're going to take another quick break, but I'm going to talk about why Julian Lewis was the lone bright spot and should make Colorado happy moving forward. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. Now, if you're not getting in on the action over at FanDuel, I would change that if I were you, because FanDuel is the place to be. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets in the same game parlay for a shot, at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe. I see a lot of you in the comments. Like, if you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Right? We're really close to 8,000. It would make my day. Make my year, right? I'm gonna be keeping it real over here. I think a lot of the times I've noticed is people don't want to get real, and I won't shy away from getting real. I'll keep it real with you guys every single day. So make sure to subscribe, because I try to make sure that I'm being honest with you guys, and I think that's important in this industry. Let's talk about Julian Lewis. Okay. At first, I was like, why would they put him in? Because you just kind of burned your red shirt, or his red shirt in a way, right? Because he played against Delaware. You can only play in 4 games in red shirt. So assuming he's going to start the rest of the way, because I do think he should, he's not going to have his red shirt. So you kind of wasted a year of Julian Lewis. That being said, Julian Lewis is so good that he was probably only ever going to start for 2-3 years max, because he's probably going to be an NFL quarterback. That being said, he was the lone bright spot. 9 of 17, only completed 53% of his passes, but he was getting pressured. For 121 yards, a touchdown, 59-yard touchdown to Amarion Miller, just a beautiful throw. And when he throws, he has some zip on it. He has some pop. He's getting there with urgency. I liked what I saw from Julian Lewis. A little more mobile than I thought. He had a carry for 15 yards, showed the ability to use his legs. So that was nice. And I think if you're Colorado, you're pitching to recruits like, hey, this roster is not what we're going to have next year. It's literally not, because there's so many guys going to be leaving just out of eligibility and then transfer portal stuff. But it's going to be a different roster. We're building around Lewis. He's going to be one of the best young quarterbacks in college football and be a part of this mission. Because Julian Lewis was great, I think. He's proven that, it's really hard, excuse me, as I fight off the hiccups. It's really hard to be sitting there all year and be thrown into a game, and it's garbage time, really. Like, Arizona took their foot off the brake, or their foot off the gas, like probably in the second quarter, because they were just being the ever-living you-know-what out of Colorado. But Julian Lewis came in there, made plays, and took advantage of his opportunity, right? Ryan Staub had the same opportunity. Ryan Staub, had he played well, probably would have started next week. That being said, I think Julian Lewis showed that, he's more mature and he's ready. We've waited all year for Julian Lewis to be ready. We've waited for Coach Prime to go to him. And I thought he did well. I think his few moments of shining, he was responsible for all of the points that Colorado had, or most of the points, right? I guess Salter did get a touchdown there, but he led Colorado. He threw a touchdown, led him to a field goal. He was good. He was good. And if you're this Colorado team and you're this young core, because now if you're Coach Prime, you have to fend off guys trying to poach your guys. Julian Lewis is going to be target number 1. Everyone needs a quarterback. London Merritt, Alexander McPherson, everyone's going to go after them. Jordan Seaton, right? You need to convince these guys to be a young core, and you really need to buy into what you could do around them. And I think Julian Lewis he should get his first career start against West Virginia next week. I think it'll be a little bit of a tough one because West Virginia, they looked great today. They played Houston, upset them. And I just think that, like, it's time for the Julian Lewis era. Probably a little too soon, or I don't know. Probably could have seen him sooner. I don't know, because we saw him for 1 drive or 2 drives against Delaware and then never saw him again. He was just shelved. And I commend him for taking advantage of his opportunities. I hope that Colorado can keep him in Boulder, because losing him would be an absolute killer. But Julian Lewis, the only bright spot from this game today. Shout out to him. Big props to him. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, making me your first listener, I guess, on days like today, your last listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button for me. I will see you guys on Monday. Hope all of you have a great and safe weekend. I'm Kevin Borba. This is Locked On Buffs.